last Mishnah of the Perik is the base of Kelim, Mishnah Ches. And the Mishnah starts off with a list of Kli matches. It's actually difficult to understand, most of them, what the Chiddush is. I mean, it's quite obvious these are regular Kli matches, and of course they're Mekabel Tumah. But let's do the list. Ha'ulor, v'hakulmus, v'hamtuteles, v'hamishkolos, v'hakurim, v'hakan, v'hakano, tumeim. Ular is, instead of having a pencil sharpener, an ular was a metal instrument used as a feather sharpener. Writing with a quill, the feather, sometimes it becomes a bit blunt and you've got to shape it and scrape it. And the ular was some sort of knife or sharpener to do this. And of course it's a regular kli matchus, it's mekabel tumah. Kulmus is the pen itself. You have a metal pen. Mututeles, this is an interesting one. Mututeles was a plumb line used by builders. They build a wall, they want to know if it's vertical, so they go to the top of the wall, drop a ball of metal on a string, and they see whether the ball is straight. And the ball of metal is a kli, and therefore it's mekabel tumah. I don't understand why it is mekabel tumah. I've looked at the Mefarshim we've had before, that if a ball of metal is just used for its weight, doesn't actually have any other function, just its weight here, and it's not as if it's got a specific weight, just any weight, as long as it's heavy, then why is it mekabel tumah? I'm not sure about that. Mishkolos are weights. We've had before in the Mishnah that a metal which is, although it's a weight, because it's got a specific weight, it's got a din of a kli tashmish. And then the last three, kurim, kan and kano. The Vilna Gaon learns that these three are all part of the metal instruments used by an architect if somebody wants to draw a straight line or a series of lines. So he needs three things. He has the piece of paper. The kurim are a set of metal clips on either side of the paper. They're aligned so that they can be used to rest the kan. The kan is the ruler. So the kurim are the clips on the side, the kan is the ruler which goes across the paper, a metal ruler, and kana is the actual metal instrument which makes the line, not necessarily with ink, it probably has some sort of scratch, it makes a groove. So the kurim, kan and kana are all writing utensils. And the Mishnah says, Tumeim, they're tomei. Mishnah carries on, V'chol gol me kli'eit tumeim. Nobody really explains why these words are actually in the middle of this section of the Masechta dealing with Kli Matchis. Mishnah Choyna has a pshat based on the fact that he learnt the first part of the Mishnah also dealing with the Golmim. But the Mishnah is saying here, as opposed to Golme Kli Matchis, which we know the Chachamim hold are Tahor, as we learnt in Mishnah Vov. Golme Kli'eit, when you make a keli out of wood, even though you haven't finished it off completely, you haven't done the final polishing, there's still a little bit to add, but basically the basic function of the kli is finished. The din is soon, that's called a golem, it's tomei, because wood doesn't have to be so finely polished in order for it to have a usage, and therefore, even before it's fully finished, it's tomei. Chutz mishal eshkaroya, unless the wood is an eshkaroya wood. Eshkaroya, Bartanura tells us, is a type of erez, normally translated, Rashi says busu balaz, and the Farshim say this is actually a tree known in English as a box tree. Therefore, if something's made out of boxwood, because this wood is so rough, therefore, even when you finish it, and even though you haven't polished it, although it can be, normal wooden kalim can be used in this state, boxwood cannot. It's too rough to be used, and then you do have to finish them off completely and polish it. Interesting, the Baal Tanura brings another girsa. Instead of Eshkaraya, has a girsa of Pirsha, which he says is Atzei Gofer, which you know from Parshas Noach. Atzei Gofer. And Gofer, interestingly enough, is also translated by many of the Mefarshim as boxwood. And maybe the reason why it's called boxwood because they used it to make the teva, which of course is a box. Anyway, Rabbi Huda Eimer, not only is Eshkeroya an exception to the rule that girl may create, although normally Tomei with this particular wood are tahor, similarly he says Avgroifis shel zayis tahora. If you take a branch of an olive tree and make a keli from it, it's tahor. Because Anshati Sholik, it's got so much juice in it that the only way you can actually use this wood to make a kli out of it is actually first to boil the wood in the fire, which extracts all the juice and makes it dry, and then you can work with it. And until you've done this shlika, this boiling in the fire, the wood, even though it's shaped and made into a kli, cannot be used, and therefore it's another exception to the rule of golmei kli eitz. Baruch Hashem, we finished Perikut Beis, which means we're halfway through the 4 Prokim section in this Masechta, which deals with Kli Matches. We've only got Perikut Gimel, Perikut Dalet to go, and then Mitzvah Hashem, when we get to Perik Tesvav, we will start with Kli Eitz Wooden Kelim.